This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And the birthday boy for today, St. Patrick's Day, is ironically a Boston Celtics legend. I know he's an executive with the Utah Jazz, but still, he had his best moments in the NBA with the Boston Celtics, despite also playing for Portland, Sacramento, and Phoenix. But still, he's a Boston icon. I mean, he coached the Suns, and then he actually joined manager of the Celtics, with getting a team executive NBA title in addition to his two as a player. He was executive of the year in 2008. He was actually the president of basketball operations from 2003 to 2021, which was great, and all that. And he was making bold moves by helping the team to rebuild, clear cap space, and tanking for picks. Of course, tanking is such a bad thing. But anyway, he's 64 years old today. He is Danny Ainge. Well, anyway, Danny Ainge was born and raised in Eugene, Oregon. What the heck am I talking about? But anyway, he actually was the only player in 1977 to be named into high school first team All-American in football, basketball, and even baseball. He would pretty much give up football, but basketball and baseball were part of his life. Yes, he had a baseball career. Anyway, he was part of BYU in college basketball, and in the Sweet 16 against Notre Dame in a highly contested game between the Irish and the Cougars. Notre Dame thought they had the win with Kelly Tripucka being the hero, but then Danny Ainge made a coast-to-coast drive and swooped through the Notre Dame defense and laid up with 2 seconds left, giving BYU the win and a trip to the quarterfinals, whether they would lose. But still, that was one of the most unprecedented coast-to-coast winning shots ever in NCAA tournament history. Although it would be kind of topped by Tyus Endy's coast-to-coast thing in '95 for UCLA when they was it the second round? Yeah, against Missouri. That actually saw UCLA somehow get the momentum to win the title. Against my wishes, because I'm a Razorbacks fan. So woo! Regardless, he actually won the John Wooden Award, given the best collegiate player in the nation, which was pretty impressive. 4 years at BYU, he was an All-American once and a WAC Player of the Year. So he actually scored in double digits 112 times, an NCAA record at the time. Usually you won't see that because players will want to leave college after 1 or 2 years. Strange as it sounded, Danny Ainge actually had a baseball career, a Major League Baseball career. Yes, for all your talk about the Boston Celtics and all that, Danny Ainge actually played baseball. And he was actually selected in the 1977 draft by the Toronto Blue Jays, their first draft as a franchise. He was in the major leagues in 1979 while still in college, which was kind of strange because it's like you're playing professional baseball and you're playing amateur basketball, if you will. He was a second baseman. He would only hit 2 home runs in 211 career games as a Toronto Blue Jay. He actually was the youngest Blue Jay at the time to hit a home run at 20 years, 77 days old. But that's been surpassed by only Vladdy Guerrero Jr. After 3 years with the Jays, Ainge decided to pursue basketball and was chosen in the '81 NBA draft. But the good news for the Blue Jays is that the Celtics had to buy out Ainge's contract from the Jays, so they had to give the Blue Jays money. In fact, there's 13 players in history that have played NBA and Major League Baseball. Frank Baumholtz, Hank Biassatti, Canadian I think, Gene Conley, Chuck Connors, Dave DeBusschere, Dick Groat, Steve Hamilton, Mark Hendrickson, Cotton Nash, Ron Reed, Dick Ricketts, and Howie Schultz were the others. Ainge was not really that big. In his rookie campaign, he just couldn't do anything right. And Bill Fitch, the Celtics head coach, said that basically his batting average is better than his shooting percentage. He played barely through his rookie season, but his second season, he came back. But by the third year, Casey Jones decided to move Ainge back to the bench, starting Gerald Henderson. Ainge actually was a role player off the bench, helping the Celtics win the '84 title. Ainge got to be the starting guard position, shooting guard, in the 84-85 season because Joe Henderson was traded to Seattle. Ainge put up a clinic, scoring 12.9 points per game in 85, and became a starter for the Celtics for the next 5 years. He won the title with the 86 Celtics, being called one of the best teams in NBA history. Not the best, but, one of the best. I mean, after all, the Celtics only lost one home playoff game, home game at all in the regular season. Ainge was okay. He, for a little bit of time, actually set the record for three-pointers in a season with 148. People say, chump change. But remember, this is 1987. Anyway, Ainge would play a few years with the Celtics and then get traded to Sacramento in 1989 for Joe Klein and Ed Pinckney. Joe Klein was supposed to be the guy that was going to be the successor to Robert Parrish, but that was hard to do. I still say Potapenko was, but no. Anyway, Ed Pinckney would later go on to play for the Raptors in their inaugural season. Anyway, Ainge was a featured player on a team with no superstars. Ainge averaged 20.3 points and 6.7 assists per game in the half season with the Kings. He looked okay and all that, but he didn't stick around Sacramento for a long time. He was traded to Portland for Byron Irvin, and it actually worked out. Well, he was born and raised in the state of Oregon, so he was a favorite. Ainge put up huge numbers for Portland in a famous double overtime win over Phoenix in the 92 playoffs. Ainge got to the finals in 92 with Portland, but Chicago took him out in 6 games. Despite all that, he did score 9 points in overtime in one of the games to set the record. Anyway, in 92, he was a free agent. He wanted to stay in Portland and all that. But strangely enough, on the first day of free agency, he signed with Phoenix. And yeah, he went back to the championship. Unfortunately, though, MJ would stop him again. And again in 6 games. Ainge retired after the 1995 season. And he actually had the highest personal winning percentage in NBA history among players who played 1,000 games, with 69% of those games winning. Only beating Kareem Abdul-Jabbar by 0.2%. He actually was known for his brash, hard-nosedness, who would often infuriate his teammates by being a ball hog for some reason. In fact, Ainge ended up getting mad at 7'1" Atlanta center Tree Rollins. Rollins elbowed Ainge in the face, and then Ainge tackled Rollins, and they wrestled and all that. Rollins actually bit Ainge's middle finger so hard that it required 2 stitches to keep the tendon together. And of course, Ainge was rejected. But the incident prompted the headline "Tree Bites Man" in the Boston Herald in 1983. It was funny. Anyway, Ainge would get in a tussle with Michael Jordan and got a technical for that. And Ainge actually rifled an inbound pass at the head of Mario Elie in the 94 playoffs. But anyway, in 96 he became the coach of the Suns. And then by 99 he resigned from the Suns. But it was sudden. He wanted to spend time with his family, so he was replaced with Scott Skiles. A few years later, Ainge would become the executive director of basketball operations for the Celtics, basically their GM. And a lot of people have him a controversial, I suppose, the Celtics said, because he traded Anton Walker for some reason and would have personality conflicts with Jim O'Brien, the head coach. But anyway, Ainge had the support of the Celtics ownership group and Red Auerbach. Anyway, Ainge almost traded Paul Pierce because Pierce asked for a trade after the 07 Celtics only won 24 games that year. However, Ainge would respond with 2 moves. He would trade for Kevin Garnett from Minnesota and Ray Allen from Seattle. And that got Boston back together. They put up 66 wins that year. Can you imagine? A 42-win turnaround in one season. That's hard to believe. It's the most dramatic single-season improvement in league history. And no doubt named Ainge the Executive of the Year. And besides, the Celtics did win the title. So, anyway, Ainge made a big trade with Brooklyn, trading Garnett and Pierce, alongside Jason Terry, to the Brooklyn Nets for 5 players, plus the first round picks in 2014, 16, 18 from Brooklyn. It was very lopsided and all that. Although Garnett would be okay with Brooklyn. Paul Pierce not so much. Well, I kind of say that because Paul Pierce was the hero, or fill-in if you're a Raptors fan, of the 2014 first round. Anyway, Ainge would trade Isaiah Thomas, not the beloved Detroit player, but Isaiah, like ISAIAH, Thomas, and Jay Crowder to Cleveland for Kyrie Irving, which was huge. Ainge would announce his retirement from the Celtics organization on June 2nd. But December 2021, he was hired as alternate governor and CEO of basketball operations for the Jazz. And yes, Danny Ainge was in Space Jam because when the Nerdlucks were scouting talent and went to Madison Square Garden to steal Charles Barkley and Patrick Ewing's stuff, Danny Ainge was in it and had a few speaking shots and all that. Yeah, so that was huge and all that. Ainge actually opened a national chain of hat stores, which he sold, which was funny. And it's been part of NBA on TNT. He and his wife Michelle live in Massachusetts and having 6 children. Austin is director of player personnel for the Celtics and played basketball at BYU. And Tanner, another son, became a Utah County commissioner, businessman, and lawyer. Danny Ainge's nephew, Eric Ainge, actually was a starter for the University of Tennessee in college football and was selected by the Jets in the 5th round of the 2008 NFL draft. Ainge and his family are members of the Church of Latter-day Saints, aka the Mormons, and he's a bishop. Actually, Ainge has had a few mild heart attacks, but fortunately he survived them. Anyway, in his 1,042 career regular seasons against Boston, Sacramento, Portland, and Phoenix, he put up 11.5 points per game, 4 assists, and 2.7 rebounds per game. He didn't start every game, pretty much. In the playoffs, he played 193 playoff games. He never started a playoff game after 1988, so he was off the bench all the time. 9.9 points per game. As a head coach with Phoenix, he was 136 and 90, got the Suns to the playoffs all 3 times. That all 3 full seasons, the Suns made the playoffs. But unfortunately, they would lose in the first round each time. But still, I mean, he led them to the playoffs every time. But yeah, Danny Ainge is an icon to be had. A BYU legend, and any Notre Dame basketball fans, I'm sorry, but he's a legend. And sorry, Blue Jay fans of the 1970s and 80s. Danny Ainge was definitely not to be a baseball player. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.